Hi everyone! In this video, I'm going to show you how to do the Budget and Expenses Part 1 assignment for the portfolio project for Lesson 3. So if we look at the instructions, it says to read the pamphlet All is Safely Gathered In, and one for the money. And then in exercise 1.3 Part B, number 27, you're going to create your own spreadsheet titled Budget and Expenses to record your income and your expenses. And then you're going to continue to record all expenses and income throughout the remainder of the semester. If we look at the rubric for this assignment, the first thing it says is student is tracking actual expenses and income, which means that you're keeping track of any money that is going out and any money that is coming in. Expenses is the money going out and income is the money coming in, okay? And student is using an electronic spreadsheet they made from scratch. Pre-made spreadsheets downloaded from the internet are not allowed. So that means that you started out with you opened up a brand new spreadsheet in Excel and you entered all the information yourself. You're not going to take and copy something that someone else did or copy something off the internet and use that. You need to make it all yourself. That's what it means by made from scratch. Okay? And then the student is using a budget. A budget that's your plan on how much you want to spend in each category. The expenses and income, that records how much money is actually going out and actually coming in. And your budget is your plan. You want to make your expenses match your plan down here. So the expenses and income needs to match your budget as closely as possible. It's not going to be perfect. Mine never is perfect. I never match my budget perfectly, but I try and get as close as I possibly can. And that's what you need to do. That's why you have that plan. All right. It says prior to exercise 1.3 part B, you began tracking your income and expenses in lesson 2. So for the budget and expenses for portfolio project number 17, you'll continue to add to this spreadsheet over the next several weeks and then submit it again in lesson 6. So you need to be aware that the expenses that you're tracking that you started in lesson 2, you're going to turn in again in lesson 6 so that I can see that you are tracking your expenses and you have been tracking them. If you need more help with spreadsheets, I highly recommend going and clicking on this Introduction to Spreadsheets document. There's some videos there that help show you how to use spreadsheets, very simple introductions to spreadsheets. But I'm going to show you real quick how to start out a spreadsheet for this assignment. So this could help you out too. And then this right here, this link is where you submit the assignment. So we're going to start out, we're going to go to a worksheet here. I'm going to move that out of the way. Sorry. And we're just going to start tracking our expenses here. Now there's different ways to do this. So I'm going to save this as my budget and expenses. Budget and expenses sheet. And I will put my name so that my teacher knows who I am. And then over here, we can start tracking expenses. So this is the way I track expenses, just so you know. I have a Excel spreadsheet like this, and whenever I spend money, I put down how much money I spent. So I can spend $45.34, and I spent it at a grocery store named Wegmans, and the category is food. Okay? So this could be the expenses and income category. And then this is where I spent it. So I guess we could say where. And then this is the category that it's going to go under. And that the category relates to my budget. So I know that I need to take that money out, or I need that money is related to that category in my budget, okay? And then, I need to add, insert a column. I need to add the date. That was silly of me. So let's say yesterday, January 17th, I spent that much money at Wegmans on food. And then I went to another grocery store, same date, and I spent $113.45 on food at Aldi. So this is what we call tracking expenses. I have the date, I have how much I spent, and then I have where I spent it at and what category it goes under. So I'm making this up right now, but let's say yesterday I also went, let's say I went to another store and I bought some clothes. So let's say I went to Target, then that would go on under the clothes category. Okay, see how easy this is? If you update it regularly, this is really easy to keep track of. A lot of people don't do this. A lot of people update theirs weekly, but mine I update daily because I feel a lot of stress and anxiety if I don't know where my money is going and if I don't know how things are. So I update mine daily and it gives me a lot of peace in my life. But it's up to you how often you want to update it. But I recommend at least weekly. I'm going to make these bold so we can see them. And then I'm going to add date over here and make that bold. There's lots of things you can do to, you can add colors and do lots of fun things with this, but I like to keep mine nice and simple. So this is what we call tracking your income and expenses. Now, if you have income, you could, so if you have money coming in, so we could say something like this, January 18th, you could have the income, you could change it to a different color to make sure that you know that it's income. So you could say, I got $150, I was paid $150 from Upworks. And then you could mark it as income in that category. If you wanted to make that stand out a little bit more, you could even change the color so that jumps out and you know that that's income instead of expenses. Okay, so then you just keep filling this in as money comes in and money goes out. Now, this is only part of the assignment. Remember the other part of the assignment? Here, I'll bring it down. So that would be student tracking actual expenses and income. And I used a spreadsheet that I made from scratch, but I need a budget in order to be able to fulfill this requirement exactly. So remember the budget that we did a few weeks ago? We can do a budget similar to that. In fact, I'm going to open up that budget and I'm just going to copy it in here. All right, this is the life plan that I made, my budget 5 years from now from my other video. I'm going to take and copy this over to here. And I'm going to change the title. And I'm just going to put this as my January budget. Okay? And I'll put that in bold and I'll make it a little bigger so I can see it quickly. And so right here I have my income, and this I copied directly from the All is Safely Gathered In, the back of that pamphlet. It has a great example budget, and I copied that from, this right here is all copied from that. So you can change this as your needs require, because we don't all have the same expenses and categories down here. So you probably have different expenses and categories down here than I do. But you need to have a planned category and then an actual category. So what I do for mine, so let's pretend like I have all of this planned out. So let's say I have the planned already done and filled out. So what I do when I enter expenses over here, so for example, $45 in food, I come over here to food under actual, and I'm going to type in an equal sign. When you type in an equal sign, you're telling Excel that you want to do some math after that. You're going to do some operations. You're going to add, subtract, multiply, divide. You're going to do something like that. And you want the answer to this equation that you're typing in to be put into this box. So I want to, first of all, my first expense under food is going to be this right here. So I'm going to type that in. I'm going to type in $45.34. Now, right now it's just equals to $45.34, that equation will just give me $45.34 into that box. But then if I want to add something, because I also went shopping at Aldi's, I'm going to type plus 113, move that out of the way, 45, because I spent $113.45 at Aldi's. And those were both under the category food. So now I have $45.34 plus 113 plus 45. Now when I hit return or enter, it will take and add those two numbers together and it will give me that answer right there. So then I can look really quickly and see I had $400 budgeted for food. I have spent about $160 on food. So I know about how much I have left. Okay? And then under clothes, so Target right here, I spent money on clothes. So I spent $24.45 on clothes. Okay? And then I have some income of $150. That's going to go under other. So I'm going to do equals 150. So if you have a category that you know you're not going to put in more than once, you can just type in the number. But if you know you're going to put more than one thing in, I like to put the equal sign and then put the number. That way I know I can come in and really quickly just add something into it if I wanted to later on. Okay? So that's a really quick overview of what you can do. This is a really simple budget and a really simple method of tracking expenses and income. One other thing that I want to show you that I like to do is over here, when I'm done recording this expense or income over here in my budget, I usually go and highlight it with just a gray. No, not the text. Sorry. I usually highlight, there we go. I fill the box with a little bit of gray so that way I know that I have recorded that one. And that way I know which ones I've recorded and which ones I haven't recorded so I can keep track of what is over here and what's not. All right, so that gives you kind of a quick overview of what you can do. Next, I'm going to show you really quick. So right here we have budget and expenses tracking examples. So there's lots of different ways you can do budgets and tracking expenses, and this is another example. So in this one right here, we have, it's divided up by week. So we have the categories over here, tithing, savings, food, mortgage, utilities, etc. And then we have a budget over here of how much we are budgeted for that week. And then we have the actual spending for the week. Okay, so you could do it this way where you budget it week by week and then you actually record the spending right here in the actual. So like, for example, if I bought food, this one right here, I spent $25 on food and then I went back and I spent $15 more. So I have equals to 25 plus 15. So when you click on that box, you can see it broken down the different times I spent food for that week. And then when it gets to the next week, then I start recording on the next one. And then I can compare the numbers between here and see if I met my budget. So this is another example. If you like this example, I recommend that you pause the video and then you can bring up your Excel spreadsheet and do something similar to this. It doesn't need to be exactly like this, but it can be similar. All right, here's another example. This one is just like all is safely gathered in. We have the December planned and the December actual. And this one, again, you can do the equal sign here. And then as you spend money, you can do plus whatever you spent on it, plus 34.43, and it will add up the number right there for you and put the total. That way you can compare whether your budget and your actual expenses, if you're over or if you're under, or what you need to do there. Okay, so this one's really straightforward and really simple. It's like the one I showed you, except for I didn't track the expenses off to the side. You actually track the expenses right here in this. All right, so again, if you want to try and do this one, go ahead and pause it and then you can pull up your Excel spreadsheet and copy it down so you could do something similar. Here's another example. This one's kind of fun. So for this one, you have the categories going this way. So here's tithing, savings, food, rent, etc. And income is right here, so wages and other income. And then you have the date going down right here. So on January 10th, I spent $20 on food. So I put in the date, and then over here under the category food, I put 20. Okay? And then on January 17th, I spent $30 on food, and I spent $15 on transportation. So I put it in right there. So you could track your spending every day, put the date here, and then put down what you spent. And then down here on the bottom, this actually calculates the total automatically. And if you look at this, I'll show you how to do this really quickly. So to calculate the total automatically, you type in the word sum, you do an open parentheses, and then you take your cursor and you select all the boxes that you want it to add up. So we want it to add up everything that's in these boxes. And then you close parentheses and you hit enter. And right here, this number 105 is all these numbers added up. Okay? All right. So I showed you how to do the sum right here. Now, after you make the sum for one of these columns, you can actually copy that. So there's a copy. You probably know how to copy, but you can copy that, and then you can come over and then you can paste it in the next column, and it will sum everything in this column down here in this box. Okay? And then you can just paste it all the way down here, and then these will automatically add up. That's kind of a cool trick for Excel. Now down here on the bottom, this is where the budget is. So you write down budget, and then you plan out exactly how much you're going to spend that month in each of those categories. And it's really nice because these numbers right here are right next to each other, and so that you can compare them really quickly and see how much you have left in each of these categories. Okay, so this is a really fun example if you want to do that one. So this is your tracking your expenses, and this is your budget down here. All right, here's another example. This one, you have the month, and you have a budget per month. So this is your budget. This is your plan for every single month. And then down here you have the categories, and then you just record in here. Again, this is one where you would probably want to do the equal sign, and then every time you spent money in that category, you would add it in. Okay, so then you would keep track right there of how much you spent. So this is kind of like all is safely gathered in example of a budget, but it looks just a little different. Here's another example. This one, you're planning by the week. So in month one, so you could put January here if you wanted, and then February and March instead of month 1, 2, and 3. And then here's your budget for the month, and then each week you record how much you spend for that week. This one's a little trickier because it doesn't add it up automatically for you. You could probably set it up so it did, but this is just another way of setting it up. If this is something that you like, go ahead and pause it and go ahead and set up your Excel spreadsheet so it looks like that. Here's another one. And this one, this one's interesting. Here's your budget over here. So your income, just a second. All right, so for this one, here's the budget. And then over here, you're keeping track of what you spend. Now this one's interesting because you start out with a total amount of money you have in your checking account. So say you have $800 in your checking account or in your savings account, in your bank account. And then as you spend money, you change your total. So $800, you take away $40, this is your new total. And then $760, you take away $250, here's your new total. And then transfer from shares, you get 10 cents. Congratulations. So here's your new total. And then you get paid from work, so here's your new total. So this one actually keeps track of how much money you have in your bank account, along with tracking your expenses. Over here, you have the categories that match up right over here. Okay, so this is another way. If this is interesting to you, you can definitely do this. Okay, this might be a fun way to track expenses if you want to know exactly how much you have in your bank account at all times. All right, so here's our next example. We just have two more. For this one, so here's the categories: wages, tithing and offering, savings, food, and you have the total. This is the amount budgeted right here across this line. So wages, you're expecting to have 3,000 come in, and for each of the dates that something happens, looks like nothing happened that day, but for each of the dates that you go and you record any expenses or income, you put the date there, and then you write down what happened, and then you change the balance so you can see exactly how much you have left. So for example, right here in tithes and offerings, you expect to spend $350 in tithes and offerings. The first 2 days, nothing happened, but then on the third day, you spent $200 in tithing, so you have $150 left to spend. The nice thing about this one is you can look at your category and you can see exactly how much money you have left in each category really quickly just by looking down like this. Okay, so this is a really fun one if you want to do this one. It's a really cool thing to do. So this would represent like each of the days you go in and check your money. So you can see on this date nothing changed, but you want to record that you went and checked your money on that date. This date nothing changed. Then on this date some things happened. Okay, so anyways, this would be a really fun way to do your money if you wanted. All right, for this last example, we have a monthly budget. So this one actually tracks it for the entire year. So you have a budget for the entire year. Here's all of your categories. This one doesn't have very many categories. You can, of course, expand the categories or change them however they work for you. And then down here, you have January week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. So for each week, you record how much you spent in each of these categories. So you can see how it lines up right here. So you spend $100 in tithing, so you write down -100. And then you can compare it to what your budget is. And then February, we have week 1, 2, 3, and 4, and March, week 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then you can continue on down and then compare it to your budget each month. But in each of those weeks, you record how much you spend. So again, in this one, notice for spending money, they have it as a negative number. That's a personal preference. If you want to do it that way, you can. Okay. So these 8 examples give you some idea of the different ways there are to track spending and income, and to record a budget and to compare the two. So pick one that you like or make up your own. It's up to you. As you can see, there's lots of different ways of doing it. So, and let me know if you have any questions about any of this. Thanks.